Glad to know you're still with us. This is the Election Studios. ICTs are providing new avenues for job creation that could help tackle global unemployment. For instance, the development of the mobile phone applications industry has created new opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs in Nigeria.
And joining us to discuss the growing opportunities and how young people can key into these opportunities is Rukeme Agwai, a cybersecurity analyst. Good evening.
Good evening.
And we also have Tolulope Davids, CEO in Stick.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Very glad to have you here with us. Let's just kick this off with this session by the National Information Technology Development Agency. They're saying that the ICT sector has boosted federal government job creation effort in the past 2 years with creating about over 12 million jobs. How true, in your estimation, is this? Let's start from there.
Kome, do you want to start?
Okay, so let me comment there. Well, I believe it's true because information technology is a living being. By itself, it creates jobs. So the bare necessity of our day-to-day life depends on several ICT gadgets, and those ICT gadgets need to be monitored, need to be supported by ICT professionals. So the problem I feel is not about creating jobs. The problem I feel is creating specialists to manage those jobs. So what we have here in Nigeria is the lack of specialists or the lack of skill sets to manage those ICT jobs there. So in Nigeria right now, in Africa, there is no lack of jobs, and jobs will keep on generating in terms of ICT, but what we are facing now here is a drought of skill sets that will be required to man those particular ICT jobs.
Now, David, quickly, with global spending on digital transformation technologies expected to cross about 2.1 billion by 2019, that's this year, and over 2020, how much of a commitment do you expect from the incoming government, because we are counting down to the elections holding on Saturday? At the end of the day, Rukeme mentioned areas of specialization, but we can't have areas of specialization if we don't have the funding to train these individuals to become pros at their different areas of specialty.
Okay. I think for me, I want to look at it from the perspective of how much is really required from government. How much, what do I mean by how much? How much input do we really require, do we really need from the government? Government's roles and responsibility is not really to spend on IT infrastructure. And I will explain that. It's very simple. They just need to create enabling environments, as it were. And what are these enabling environments? There are private entities that are really interested, in investing in ICT. Government needs to create enabling environment by giving them few things, which I will quickly talk about. Tax cuts is one idea that government can really introduce. So if you really want to put, a large chunk of investment into infrastructure, government can say, oh, you have a tax holiday for say 5 years, to compensate for what you are bringing on board. So about commitment from this new administration that will kickstart in few days, I want them to start looking at areas of creating enabling environments. Things around tax cuts, things around, single digits interest rates when they are lending either from the purse of government or from infrastructure bank in Nigeria, for instance. Those are the areas I'm looking at it from.
And then, Rukeme, you also are a cybersecurity analyst as well, and this is a growing space, especially looking at how much we're supposed to be tapping into. We understand that cyber fraud is still a major issue, but you also talked about areas of specialization. How much are we also supposed to be countering when it comes to building our expertise level here?
Okay. My colleague here spoke about government. I think he hit the nail on in the head. Government shouldn't be involved in infrastructural development, in ICT development. It's all about it's all about creating an enabling environment. So in terms of cybersecurity,
somehow it's still a public-private partnership that we're pushing.
Yeah, it is. So like where I was driving that, in terms of cybersecurity, there's little the government can do in terms of cybersecurity. We don't expect the president to secure our ICT networks. We don't expect the government to create policies to secure our ICT infrastructure. However, what they need to do is that they need to create, like you said, the enabling environment, such as supporting ICT hubs to train ICT professionals. In terms of cybersecurity, is an ongoing war game. So it's a battle. Right now, it has moved from just the mere antivirus or mere virus attacks and all that. It's now like a full-fledged government battle. And in other developed countries, what they actually do is that they sponsor military campaigns, they sponsor educational campaigns. So they've had a lot of educational reforms in terms of training people, changing the curriculum. Because what we have now is an outdated curriculum in educating people and creating the skill sets in order to battle cybersecurity threats, like you mentioned. So the only input we probably want from the government is one, like Tolu mentioned, is creating the enabling environment, then also boosting hubs. Like we have ICT hubs like Andela, we have those like Tennessee Hub in Enugu. We have various hubs springing up around the country, encouraging youth to join them and train them and build the skill sets for them to have the necessary technical skills in dealing with these issues. So the only thing probably we want the government is assisting that in terms of funds and in terms of some certain incentives to boost their presence there.
All right, let me ask this. There is a projection that by 2020, ICT is playing a critical role in pushing the nation's economy to make Nigeria one of the leading economies in the world. 2020 is just next year.
Yep.
Where are we with that? Let me bring that question to Tolu.
I don't think we are realistic, with some of these projections. And I must be, how will I put it? I must be very, very frank here. If we are to achieve a goal that is meant for 2020, which is just about few months, to where we are, one will have think at this stage, we'll start seeing metrics that we can validate that is real. It is not real, so I'm going to, push my line of thought into saying realistically, we are still at infancy stage. What do we need to do, to start working towards that goal? Yes, we may not be able to achieve 2020, which is realistically, but we can begin to build vision, goals, maybe towards the next 10 years.
But before we can build for that goal, isn't it right that we take stock of how far we've come, where we are at? Because as it is now, is the ICT truly helping the economy push to become the leading economy in Nigeria? So where are we? That's the question. And if we're to make projection, on what basis are we going to be making that projection?
Okay, if we say where are we, let's just, we will not be able at this stage to look at all the indices, but I will pick one, for instance.
Let me provide you a little bit of insight now. The Nigeria Communications Commission, as at April last year, said that quarterly contribution of the ICT sector to Nigeria's GDP increased to 1.6 trillion naira, away from 1.4 trillion naira. That means that the sector contributed about 10%. That's still a large chunk of the GDP.
Okay, David, let me bring this to you. If you say it's 10%, I agree. Measure of economy, we have to be realistic when it comes to measuring economy. I will pick one sector as an example, which I'm currently playing in, which is the logistic part, providing solution for logistics. The logistic industry is estimated to worth $80 billion, which is a very big, value when you look at it. The likes of 360 Cobos, they are raising huge investments into Africa to solve the problem. But when we come down to look at this 80 billion, how much of it, are we realizing currently? If we look at the question my sister asked, today we are playing around between 100 billion and 200 billion, which is very small compared to what the industry was, as it were. Now, how do we know where we are if we look at that basis alone? If we know where we are, then we need to start building. How can we get to the 80 billion? 80 billion compared to 8.8 trillion Nigerian budget is, you understand what I'm trying to say? Exactly. So we need to start looking at the future, and looking at that future is not lacking in Nigerian energy or the youth energy or the business owner when it comes to ICT. It's lacking in leadership to whip us, through that direction of realization.
We're still going to pick your thoughts on it, but let's just go on this short break and watch this video on ICT in Nigeria.
If the young people who are wanting to get involved in the authority, instead of going into political parties or getting into systems trying to take offices that others have, which is always the fear that those who are sitting there won't want, you can come in there with your experience, with your knowledge of the digital space to create new offices. I tell people, if you get into a political party and they don't have office for you, probably for youth leader or what have you, why not become the digital media aid of that party? Because they will come to you because you have the skill. We have so many skills, apart from the normal computer literacy skills that I talk about. We have a lot of opportunities in the digital media marketing. We have a lot of opportunities in social media, brand promotions, and what have you. But basically, why it is very important and why it is working is that everything you have around you, the culture around you, the activities you have around you, the ordinary skills you have around you, moving it to the cyberspace is a job opportunity. That instead of you hating your culture, for example, you have a festival in your community, instead of hating it, you can actually open up an online TV. You see parents in Nigeria asking their secondary school kids not to access phone. Meanwhile, the phone that the parents are using are phones that are produced by their mates in China or other countries. So I don't know why you ask the kids not to do so. So we also move the message to them to create awareness. So behind that digipreneur programs that we run is also the awareness that will stop people feeling that either there is drudgery in it or there is crime in it.
Now, Rukome Tolulope, you have the gentleman there in that conversation, and it's talking about how much we have to utilize ICT with having the knowledge at the back of our mind that we have emerging markets at the end of the day. So in talking about emerging markets, talk about agriculture, talk about marketing, talk about the banking sector, and a whole lot more. What should we be doing right to ensure that we key into the emerging markets and remain relevant when we talk about technology?
So I'd like to talk about educational reform from the elementary level. So what we need to start doing is that from the elementary level, we need to start teaching our kids how to harness ICT knowledge to transform how they see their society. So IT is broad, and you can use IT you can apply it to any particular sector of your life. So you can apply it to the agricultural sector, you can apply it to the media, you can apply it to the security sector, you can apply it to whatever sector. It's just about IT is just simply trying to use technology to make your life better. So the problem we are facing in our society is that like we mentioned earlier, skill sets, we don't know how to transform that knowledge to apply to create technology that would in turn give us financial results. So let's take, for example, I am a kid. I need to create something to make me go to school better, or make me do my assignments better and everything. My knowledge in Excel and my knowledge in some programming tools can be able to help my calculus or calculation increase my calculation better, and also help me do assignments for other people. So this is an example of using technology, using your knowledge to solve your particular problem. So it's just about using technology to solve your problem. So by the time you do this, you can now transcend it to solving problems in your society. So that's where ICT comes in, using technology to solve problems in your society. And that can translate, that at the elementary level can transcend to the global level, and that's where we should be focusing on.
So, now the Ministry of you add to that, but the Ministry of Trade and Investment has said, well, Lagos State is a smart city as well. Yes, we don't see what really makes it smart, essentially. And in our previous conversation, we were also talking about the Internet of Things. Now, how are we supposed to be looking at the future with the mind of providing jobs or creating jobs at the end of the day? Because if we have the Internet of Things and a whole lot more to make life much more easier, it means some way, somehow, we are feeding into utilizing our manpower. So how should we target our energies right?
Okay, just to quickly comment on what he has said, the way to go is leveraging on technology to create jobs. And how? Which is what you're asking. First of all, to buttress his points, we need to start looking at, IT literacy. This word IT is just information technology. In other words, you can call it ICT, information communication technology. It does not just stand for only maybe computer engineers or developers. It's for everybody. And immediately we start saying it like that this is our new oil. That's when we start, moving in the right direction. And how? How means all of us must get involved. And one thing, even older technology can help us in Nigeria. We are at advantage. I will talk about Nigeria first before going into Lagos. Nigeria as a whole, broadband penetration is low. We all know that. The real internet penetration is equally low. But there are other technology that we can adopt. Some of them are even more than 20 years old. If you pick USSD, for example, if you are in Kafansha or you are in Maiduguri, even if you don't have real internet, you can have USSD. Meaning that all of those apps, all of those solutions that we now build now, people can talk to it using a GSM technology from telcos. That's one. When you now come to Lagos, for instance, Lagos isn't a smart city yet. I don't want to join issues with politicians. If you want to evaluate a smart city, one key thing is about e-process. E-process doesn't just about one particular process. It cuts across almost every sectors. So if you pick it from, say, policing system, you have to automate it. If you pick it from even, what do they call, LOMA, refuse and waste management, you have to automate it. A whole lot more. Security in terms of not an army man putting a gun up there. In terms of investigation, in terms of taking feeds of what happened, monitoring and all that. You have to automate it. Judiciary system, you have to automate it. We could go on and on and on and on like that. All that is lacking. Even transport, you can automate it. And the point I'm making is, for a city to be smart, then means that something can talk to those processes. So if you slap me, I don't have to, sorry, my energy is much. I don't have to go report in a police station. That is probably like 30 minutes. We all know the gridlock in Lagos. Just talk to a system, and then the system will respond back. Before you know it, the police are there.
So you're basically saying we're not there yet.
We are not there yet. And what can we do to get there? Those are what we need to lock ourselves up and then look at the real blueprints that can take us there.
Talking about the real blueprint, we're also looking at the ICT roadmap 2017 to 2020. It's elapsing next year. In our previous conversation as well, this also raised its head. How much have we been able to implement this blueprint in your assessment?
Well, like he earlier said, we're still at the infancy level. And the truth is, I don't see us going anywhere, even no matter how much we plan. To buttress what he said, in summary, we need to have the manual processes are not there. So it's difficult to automate what is not working. So no matter how much we try to do a leapfrog in terms of technology, no matter how we try to do a copycat in terms of technology, what we are trying to improve is not there. So our manual processes are not there. So first of all, we need to take off our manual processes, then we need to take off how we think. So by the time we change our mindset, then we can now start using the technology to improve our way of living. Technology is there to improve the way we are living. Technology is there to fast track the way we are living and make things easier, to automate it and all. But the way we are living is not acceptable. So that's why no matter how much we try to even pump money into technology, try to do things, it will not work. Like so, in terms of how to start, like I earlier mentioned, we need to start with the educational reform, the way we think and all. By the time people start thinking differently, how to improve their processes, then try to look for how to get the technology to improve the processes. But they won't be able to do that technology if they don't even have the skill.
All right, let me come in and let me play devil's advocate here. On the flip side of all of this, we've talked about the challenges, we've talked about where we're going, how we're going to get there, and all the plus sides of ICT. But we do know that there is a flip side to all of this. Creating jobs. There are some jobs that are questionable. Some people use the ICT for, transactions that you go online. I actually booked a hotel once online for a hotel in Jos, so only for me to get there. There was no booking, and I didn't do it alone, So what question, can you share your thoughts on how we can change the mindset of using the ICT for negative reinforcement, like jobs that are actually illegal and can take you to jail?
Okay, so it's a matter of morality, priority, and also finance. So in terms of morality, you just need to have there'll always be good and bad people. There'll always be advantages and disadvantages of everything. For every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. So you can't actually stop bad guys from doing bad things. The same way you're going to use technology to improve your life, the same way you can use technology to use it to be harmful to another human being. So it will always be there. So what, however, we can do, and as a security professional, what we actually preach is that we try to show people the good side of using technology and show people the financial benefits of using technology. For example, in my field, there's been an increase in the need for cybersecurity analysts and cybersecurity professionals in such a way that the monetary value attached to a cybersecurity professional has increased. So it's actually more beneficial to be a cybersecurity professional than to be on the other side.
Are you sure? Because the dark web is actually interestingly lucrative.
Yeah, so what the dark web is actually lucrative, I agree, but there's always been a jigsaw, or like there's always a flip side. Right now, more people in the dark web are actually cybersecurity researchers right now. Can I prove that to you right now? So what most security companies are doing is that they are paying a lot of people premium money for finding bugs, and like the average amount of money for anybody to find a bug is like $100,000. So just finding a bug in a particular program or a particular enterprise program, and you get $100,000, that is more than the amount you are making, or more than the time you slave and trying to cause harm for another person. And also, when there are the financial incentives to being on the good side of good side of ICT, you see that more people or more youths will tend to move. The truth is that people move towards where the money is, and all. So wherever the money is attractive, that's where people will move. So we need those incentives. Then also, like I also spoke about morality. Then where you can see the government coming in now. We find out that in most developed places, you see the government spending more on research. And I feel where the government can come in is spend more money in research and in cyber as a whole. And so when you see more people engaging their time in research and engaging their energy in research on how to make things better, and they are rewarded for it. The key thing is the reward. Where they see the reward for it, they will move towards it and all. So maybe where we have the problem here is that there's no reward attached to being good, or there's no reward attached to being moral and all. And I feel that by the time we gradually try to change that mindset that, okay, we start rewarding professionals the right way, you see things moving towards the right direction.
Tolulope, so what about the area of having customer experience experts as well? Because online shopping keeps on taking more and more simple yet complex routes, and we always have to find new ways of enticing our customers. And then we would also like you to have your thought on remote controlled vehicles or operations, just like the emergence of drones as well. What areas do you think would help make these thrive much more, and we can earn as much as possible, creating jobs as well?
Okay, I'll first of all talk about the customer service, or per se, let me call it customer touch points. As we evolve, technologically, using technology to power a lot of businesses, we realize that a lot of people that are now using those applications or those platforms, they need to have a touch point. And in most cases, from my experience, when you go to check how you can actually reach a company, you see it's extremely difficult in this side of the world. And what can we do to make the creation of jobs happen
bridge
faster?
the gap?
Yeah. Today, Amazon is an example. There are millions of people working as a customer service agent. Most of them work from home in US. Mom, taking care of their babies, and they are doing part-time job with Amazon, trying to provide customer service. What people want at the first level of engagement in customer service is actually somebody they can report their case to, not the person that will solve it. Now, that alone can create millions of jobs. As we have a lot of e-platforms, we can encourage a lot of people through training and all of that. Companies can, put them as work from home customer agents, and then they provide that service satisfactorily. If the cases is beyond the FAQs, they can pass it on to the people at the back end, to provide the real solution. If we also go to the next question, which is about drones and all of that.
Unmanned vehicles, yeah.
First of all, I want to make a comment on our laws. Most of the laws that that guides technology generally in Nigeria are obsolete, and we must be frank with ourselves. If you bring for agrotech company, if you bring a drone to monitor your farm, you see that the law does not support you. There are a whole lot. If you just like we are doing now, the live TV, you will see, if you go to the law that actually, established TV station, you will see it may not support some of those new things that we are creating. First of all, we need to revamp our law. And I'm going to speak to that from the one that I know. Take NOTAP as an example. NOTAP is a National Office for... Okay, take NOTAP for example. NOTAP is to actually encourage that you don't acquire technology equipment or software without a benefit to the indigents or the citizens of the country. But are we really following those laws? Maybe the answer is no. You will see a technology company coming from Asia to sell in Nigeria, rather than getting a certain percentage of Nigeria to get involved in those jobs. They go and get only visiting visa to enter Nigeria, and then you see them doing that job, those jobs themselves. I think I'll hold my thoughts.
So much, you have so much
because I have a lot of things, that borders around how we run technology businesses in Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And it's been a pleasure speaking with Rukame as well as Tolulope. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And that wraps up the conversation for tonight.
Yes, indeed.
We've been looking at ICT.
I've been properly educated.
Well, that's all we can take on Nigeria Decides tonight. Join us tomorrow on Nigeria Decides, same time at 6 p.m. I'm David Alabimene. Thanks for watching.
And I'm Felicity Ezewike. Thank you for your company.